Okay, we're going to do an LSD test for you guys so you kind of get an idea how this works. All right, this is your differential. With the car in neutral, no e-brake on, I'm going to go ahead and turn this wheel. I'm turning it by hand. Now, if you look over there, you'll see that other wheel's not turning at all, which is perfectly normal because this LSD is helical gear torque biased. So it must sense load at 3 points for it to lock. And right now with it in neutral and out of gear kind of thing, right, went ahead, I put the car in gear. Now take a watch. You see, turning in the opposite direction, which is perfectly normal because now it's sensing load. It's got torque on it. Now, that's a normal acting differential. That's what you want to see when you're testing it. To see if we're going to go ahead and install these today. This is a Putty Mod Stage 4 differential. It has a 390 gear ratio in it. A set of Putty Mod axles. These are the high performance axles. Really work out well. They're a factory axle that I do my magic to, and so far so good. No issues with them in all the years I've been building them. Again, here you go. Perfectly good stock limited slip differential. You see how they turn in opposite directions. That's what you want to see. All right, let's carry on with this install.
All right. I was expecting it to be a lot tighter. Nice and clean.
Oh, yeah, that looks great. This is very magnified. Well, it looks like the fill bolt is actually on the bottom, and with further investigation, our drain is up at the top. So last oil change, somebody got it a little bit backwards, but we'll get that straightened out. And just a little bit of nothing on there, so that's perfect. Everything looks great. You want to pull these 4 studs out. Once those studs are out, this rear can drop straight down. It makes it so much easier, and you do not have to remove the ball joint to pull the differential. You want to remove these two bolts from the front mounting arms. Loosen them up or remove them just like you see here, and the rear will pitch down. When it pitches down like this, you got a straight shot to get into these socket head screws. And you can get them out without destroying them or stripping them out. Just do 2 at a time, turn the shaft, and then do the next 2. 6 of them out. Make sure you got a nice tight fitting socket head. You go inside there, these are socket head cap screws, so you want to make sure you got a good hex to make that, fit perfectly, and you don't have to worry about getting a strip. You get a good fit into those socket head caps. It out just like that, no strip. All right, everything is loose and out except for the 4 studs, which will be the last thing to take out. And I'm putting up the transmission jack now to hold it in place, and we'll remove those 4 studs. Like that. Okay, with everything removed, you can wiggle this thing around and remove the axle from the differential. You'll see there's a locating pin on the axle. You just have to get past that. It's fairly easy. All you have to do is kind of push this over to one side, rock it over a little bit, and then she'll pop right on out. No problem. No need to remove a ball joint or anything. All right, we're going to carry on, get the other axle out, and lower this differential. Popped out now, and we're lowering it out of place. Easy cheesy peasy. Or easy peasy. Yeah, that's easy. Old meets new. Here we go. You see, this LSD is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's about nearly 90,000 miles on this diff. It's factory stock, still in decent enough condition. But with the supercharger going in this car, the added power, the client decided to step up the differential to this stage 4. So scroll them. All right, cool. Axles are out. Again, old meets new. Big difference.
Gonna put a little grease on the spline?
Yeah, a little grease on the spline, and then we're gonna put a little grease on the back of the axle nut. Take note, there is a different size axle for the left and the right. So the left, driver's side, if you're in America, is a shorter axle than the passenger side right axle for the S2000. Just a little FYI if you did not know that. And that's it. It's really not much difference in the length. A little grease on the spline. Oh, there you go. A little grease on the spline and on the flange, or the back of the flange nut. That's the axle nut. Nice.
Spit on it.
NTCs on the threads. Alright, they're all in. Axles are in place. Just need to button everything up. No need to remove the suspension like we were saying. Axle flange bolts, your nut right here goes on the inside. So bolt outside, nut inside. There you go. And tightening these back up, the E-brake method works great. So you have your studs or your socket head bolts in position here. Then you go up top, pull the E-brake, lock it in, snug them up, release the E-brake, turn this and do the next two, and so forth. Gear oil time. On this fill, we're going with 75-140 Mobile 1. That's really what you want to stick with, is 75-140. You can use an 85-140 from Valvoline, which is a standard gear oil, non-synthetic. That's okay to use as well, especially with a factory LSD. There's no need for synthetic, but synthetic does make things last a little longer, run a little cooler, keep things a little slicker. That's what's left in the bottle. Just I'm shaking it a little bit so you can kind of see where that line is. You do not want to overfill these things. You want to be able to have that vent and breathe properly. If you overfill it, it can come out of the seal sears at the axle or at the pinion. It's going to find a way out if you overfill this thing, so it's not good to do so. And dry pinky, I'm going to go ahead and do the pinky test. And you can see it's right there. It's right at the edge, right just before it's going to start coming out. And that's a proper fill. We have a new crush washer from Honda there. on the break-in, you want to run this gear oil 500 to 800 miles or so, and then you want to go ahead and drain it. Inspect the magnet on the drain plug for any an ordinary debris. There's going to be some fleck and things like that, some paste on it from normal break-in, but you don't want to see chunks of stuff. If you see chunks of stuff, then there may be an issue in that new differential. Honda, for some reason, went 23 millimeters on that fill and 24 millimeters on the drain. So if you don't want to strip that out, you're going to have to get yourself a 23 millimeter wrench. Most people go with the 24 millimeter. That's why you see the edges of these things rounded off some, because they used an improper wrench. 23 millimeter is kind of an oddball size. And one other thing, you don't want to over tighten these things using a torque wrench or something like that. You can run into trouble. Just get them snug, you'll feel it, and that crush washer will do the trick, keeping that thing in place and not leaking. When you realize you did not pull the cap, and you still need to tighten your axle nuts. Oh, I'm going to pull this wheel right back off. Do it right. Got it right now. All right, everything's kind of snugged and hand tight. We're going to put it on the ground and do our final torque. Tire pressure up to speed where it belongs. Good job, right.
$220?
2.
100.
We're stepping the torque in 3 increments. Final torque is 222 foot-pounds.
It's 200.
22. Next increment. Then you're going to step that torque 75, 150, 200, 222 for final torque. Perfect. Are we? Oh yeah, very low. Okay. We always check these things out, especially from people who take a long drive. We always check all the fluids, air pressure, things of that nature. So on this particular car, this guy came in from a fairly long distance. He's out from Maryland here down to Florida, and the car is low on oil, so we're going to go ahead and put that 10W30 in it, since this is an AP1 car and synthetic, and get him topped off to where he needs to be, nice and safe. He's nearly 2 quarts low, so we're using Mobile 1. Get it topped off. There you go.
A little more.
A little bit more. Yep. I'm a little blurry. How's it look?
Wow.
Almost perfect. One glove. That's a glove. That should do it. Nice and tight. Dippy stick is back in place. Good to go. Oh, yeah. No problem there. Check the overflow bottle. Oh yeah. Nice. Pretty cool. It has a few nice little LHD touches here that John does. He makes these billet aluminum nice here. So this car does have some nice stuff on it already, and it's going to go get some more nice stuff done to it. I think in the coming weeks, this fella's going to be at LHD for a supercharger install. Should be pretty cool. You'll see that on John's YouTube channel when they add the supercharger to this car. Really cool. Also, car has the new Honda anniversary front bumper on it. Also a pretty neat touch. Beautiful paint on the car. Really nice little AP1 with some nice, tasteful modifications. All right, we're out for the test drive here. Some issues coming down from Maryland with the car, and it's definitely got an issue. There's no whine from the rear end or anything. Axles feel good, no vibrations. We're at 60 now. Everything feels really good. Different driving a hydraulic clutch compared to the manual clutch in a Camaro. It's a whole different feel. Really nice. Super tight car. We dropped the top because of how much wind noise was with the top up. It's actually better with the top down. And this coilover suspension is pretty killer. Really nice. And this car is super tight. You can VTEC a new differential, just like I'm doing here. If you just want to be smooth with your shift, no banging out those gears. It's up to operating temperature, which we are now. You can go ahead and row through those gears and just be conservative and smooth, as you should always be anyway. This is a finesse car. This is not a, an 80s Camaro or a 70s Camaro or a Ford Mustang where you beat on it to get the speed. This car is fastest when you're smooth. Just going through small areas and all just to exercise everything. Look for any bugs that might arise. Really nice car. If you didn't know this thing was 20 years old, you swear it was maybe 6 months old. Really nice. Nice and smooth, no banging gears, rev match, just as it should be. Going for final torque, make sure it's correct.
I'm gonna have to rotate it a little.
Yeah, right on the money there. Stay in the nut. There you go. Perfect. All right. And that'll do it for this install. And this 2001 Honda S2000. Sweet car.